Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are taking on a pretty complex topic: annuity claims. We're going to break down the specific and, let's be honest, often confusing rules that decide who gets paid and when.
Exactly. Our sources give us a really detailed map here.
And our mission for you is clarity. We want you to walk away understanding exactly who can claim funds from an annuity, what the specific conditions are, and maybe most importantly, what paperwork is absolutely required to get it done right the first time.
It really is all about precision. A claim is, well, it's just a request for some or all of the money in a contract. The person making that request. That's the claimant.
Simple enough.
Right. But if there's one thing you take away from this, even before we start, it's this. The speed of your claim processing depends almost entirely on one thing.
Which is?
Submitting a complete claim with all the necessary attachments. A properly submitted claim basically lets you skip the line.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're going to unpack this whole system. We'll start with the agent's role, then move to the insurer, and then the really complex part, the rules for different annuity types, especially when death is involved.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack the process itself. So if you're the claimant, maybe you're a grieving family member, or you're an owner who needs funds, where do you even begin?
Well, the sources are clear that the first stop is usually the agent. Their function is supportive.
Supportive how? Like a guide.
Think of them as your logistics coordinator. They're there to provide the specific claim form you need, or at least tell you exactly how and where to get it.
Okay, so they get you the form.
And just as important, they're supposed to detail the specific documents that must go with that claim, death certificates, proof of identity, that kind of thing.
Right, and they'll tell you where to send the whole package.
Precisely. So the claims rep can get to work.
That initial guidance sounds crucial. But for the processing to even kick off, there are a couple of non-negotiables, right?
Two absolute baseline requirements. Doesn't matter if it's a withdrawal or a death benefit. First, the claim form has to be totally complete.
No blank spots.
None. And second, it must have the claimant's legal signature.
So the agent helps you get all that ready, you send it in, and then their job is done.
That's right. Once that envelope is sealed and sent, the agent's involvement ends. It's now in the hands of the insurer's claims representative.
Wait, I have to ask this. If the agent is just coordinating logistics, what happens if I mess up? Say I miss a section or a date on the form.
That's a huge point of frustration.
Does the claims rep call me and walk me through it? Or am I just stuck?
You're pretty much stuck in limbo. The rep's job is to issue the funds, the check, or the transfer. They aren't there to fix your paperwork. If it's deficient, it gets kicked back, or it just sits there until you provide what's missing.
Which is why that complete submission is so critical for speed.
It's everything. Okay, so now that we get the admin side of things, let's talk about the claims themselves. We can really put them into two main buckets.
Which are?
First, claims made by the living contract owner. That's your withdrawal or surrender. And second, the death claims, which are made by a beneficiary.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because who is allowed to claim is completely dependent on the type of annuity contract, right? The structure is key.
Absolutely. Let's start with death claims. If you have a term annuity and the annuitant dies before the end of that term, the claimant is always the beneficiary.
Okay.
A great example from our sources is the Douglas case. Douglas converted his RRSP into a term annuity that was set to run until he turned 90. He named his 4 kids as equal beneficiaries.
And he passed away before 90.
Right, he died at 86. So because the contract still had 4 years left on the term, his 4 children, as the named beneficiaries, just shared the remaining balance of the contract equally. It was a very straightforward transfer of capital.
And we see that same logic with an accumulation annuity or one with a return of premium rider, right? The beneficiary is the claimant.
Correct.
But the rules get a lot stricter when we get to standard life annuities.
Radically stricter. If it's a standard life annuity with no guaranteed period, the payout stops when the annuitant dies. Full stop. A claim just can't be made.
Because that's the deal you make with a pure life annuity. You get income for life, but the insurer keeps the principal when you die.
Exactly. The only way a claim is even possible is if that life annuity has a guaranteed period. A beneficiary can claim, but, and this is a big but, only if the death happens during that guaranteed period.
And once that guarantee period ends, the door closes. No claim.
No claim.
Then you have the joint and last survivor annuity. What happens there?
Okay, so if the first annuitant dies and there's no guarantee period, the payments just continue to the survivor. The surviving annuitant simply has to provide proof of death to the insurer to get the switch made.
So they become the sole recipient.
Correct. But if you follow that chain, When the second annuitant dies and there was still no guarantee period, well, again, the payments cease. A claim can't be made unless that second death happens while a guarantee period is still active. Then the beneficiary can claim what's left of those guaranteed payments.
So it's all about the beneficiary designation. If the primary beneficiary isn't alive, what happens?
It just flows down the line. The proceeds go to the contingent beneficiary. The insurer has to follow that hierarchy.
But what if there's no living beneficiary at all?
And this is the worst-case scenario for anyone trying to manage a legacy. If there's no living beneficiary, primary, or contingent, the claim is paid to the owner of the annuity. If the owner is also deceased,
Let me guess. It goes to the estate.
it goes right into the owner's estate. The money essentially flows backwards.
And this is a huge deal for anyone listening.
Yeah.
Why? Because of one thing. Probate fees.
Exactly.
When a named beneficiary gets the money, it passes to them directly by contract. It completely bypasses the will and the estate. So no probate fees apply.
But if those funds are paid into the estate because no living beneficiary was named, well, that money is now part of the estate's total value.
And probate is that legal process for validating a will, where fees are often charged based on the total value of the assets going through it.
Right. So when the annuity money gets funneled back into the estate, it's suddenly subject to those fees. That can take a huge chunk out of the inheritance. Not to mention, it can cause months of delays.
This really shows why keeping that beneficiary designation updated is so critical. The Catherine example from our sources illustrates this perfectly.
It really does. In that case, her husband bought a life annuity with a 25-year guarantee. He named Catherine's sister Norma as the beneficiary. Catherine was the contingent owner.
Okay.
So her husband died, and then Norma died a year later. But here's the critical part. Catherine developed advanced memory loss and never updated the designation to name a new beneficiary.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And when Catherine eventually died, with no living beneficiary named to get the rest of that guarantee,
The money went straight to her estate.
the entire balance was paid as a cash refund to her estate, which means it was immediately subject to probate fees and all the administrative headaches of the estate process.
That one oversight cost her family.
It makes you realize financial planning isn't just about returns. It's about protecting people and making sure the money flows exactly where it was intended to go.
We've talked a lot about what happens after death, but what if the owner needs access to the funds now? Let's switch gears to claims made while they're still living. Withdrawal or surrender.
Okay. This really applies to accumulation annuities and term annuities.
The accumulation annuity seems to be the most flexible. It allows both withdrawals and a full surrender.
It does. You can take periodic withdrawals, usually with some minimums and maximums, or you can just surrender the whole thing. A term annuity can also be surrendered, basically cashing out whatever time is left.
But that flexibility comes at a cost, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. If you surrender a term or an accumulation annuity, especially early on, the insurer will almost always hit you with a penalty or a surrender charge. It's all laid out in the contract.
And there's that crucial exception we mentioned earlier, a life annuity, once payments have started.
Cannot be surrendered, period. That income stream is set in stone. If you need liquidity, a life annuity is not where you're going to find it once it's paying out.
Now let's talk about something called the market value adjustment, the MVA. This is where the financial mechanics get really interesting.
Yes, the MVA is specifically for when a guaranteed investment that's inside an accumulation annuity gets cashed in before its maturity date.
So what is it exactly?
It's basically a tool the insurer uses to balance their books. When you buy a guaranteed investment, the insurer takes your money and invests it for a fixed term based on the interest rates at that moment.
Okay.
If you decide to pull that money out early, say, you cash out a 5-year investment after only 2 years, and interest rates have changed a lot since you bought it, the insurer applies the MVA.
So let me see if I get this. If interest rates are way higher now than when I locked in my rate, the insurer loses money if they have to liquidate my investment early to pay me out. The MVA protects them from that loss. Is that right?
That is exactly right. The MVA effectively reduces the interest you earn on the amount you cashed in to compensate for that rate difference.
And how is it calculated?
It's based on 4 main things. How much time was left on the original term, the interest rate when you first invested, the current market interest rate, and, of course, any admin fees. It's a risk hedge for the insurer that directly impacts your cash-out value.
Okay, before we get to our final thoughts, there are 2 external factors that always affect payouts no matter what. First one, taxes.
Always. Taxes are always withheld by the insurer. based on the rules in the Income Tax Act, anytime a contract is surrendered or withdrawal is made.
So you don't get the gross amount. The insurer is required to hold that tax back.
Correct. And the second factor is the power of attorney, or POA. This is a practical complication of managing assets for someone else.
What's the issue there?
A person acting as a POA for property might have to fill out a special third-party form for the insurer to prove they have the authority to act.
And here's the big warning sign.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Because the legal rules for powers of attorney are so different between provinces and territories, you should absolutely seek a legal opinion in that situation.
Yeah.
The insurer might even require it to make sure the claim is valid under local law. That's not a step you want to skip.
Definitely not. Let's circle back one last time to the guaranteed period rules for life annuities, because that affects how the beneficiary gets paid.
Right. When a claim is made, the amount they get depends on whether a cash refund or an installment refund was chosen in the contract.
What's the difference?
An installment refund means the beneficiary just keeps getting the regular payments until the guarantee period runs out. A cash refund is a single lump sum, equal to the difference between what was paid in and what was paid out to the annuitant before they died.
But the main rule is still the same.
The core rule is the same. A beneficiary is only entitled to the unpaid portion of that contract guarantee. Once the guarantee ends, their claim ends.
And the Tara example in our sources nails this down perfectly.
It does. Tara bought a life annuity paying $3,000 a month with a 20-year guarantee. She named her son Rob as beneficiary.
And she died 10 years in.
Right. So Rob, as the beneficiary, will just keep getting that full $3,000 monthly payment for the remaining 10 years of that original guarantee.
And at that 10-year mark, it's a hard stop.
A hard stop. His entitlement is strictly tied to that initial guarantee period.
So what does this all mean? We've walked through the entire claims process, from the sometimes frustrating admin handoff to the really distinct differences in death claims based on annuity type.
And the financial consequences.
Yeah, the market value adjustment that can reduce your payout, or bad beneficiary planning that can lead to probate fees you never saw coming.
So the final synthesis is really this. Navigating annuity claims comes down entirely to the specific contract you have. Understanding the difference between, say, an accumulation and a life annuity, and the presence or absence of a guaranteed period or living named beneficiary.
The contract is king.
The contract is king. Its details determine if a claim is even possible, let alone successful.
Okay, so considering the complexity of joint contracts, guaranteed periods, and the immediate tax hits on withdrawal, here's a final provocative thought for you to take away. What is the single most important detail in your own financial contracts right now that needs an immediate review to make sure your designated beneficiaries get those funds without triggering unexpected tax or probate complications? Something to mull over.